Fabulous. Hello, my Blockhead beauties. It's your girl, that Wahlburgers chick, and we are here with another episode of A Day in the Life of a Blockhead. Now, today, my guest is Richard, aka Mr. Blockhead. Say hi to everyone.
Hi, how are you?
Where are you from, Richard?
I live in New Hampshire, about
In New Hampshire.
an hour from Boston.
Oh, New Hampshire in the house. Okay, awesome, awesome. So I want to get your story, and I don't think that you have an adolescent story. So how about you let us know when was the first time that you discovered New Kids on the Block?
Well, I'll tell you, my wife is a lifelong blockhead, and she was supposed to go to the concert in Fenway a couple years back with one of her friends. Well, her friend had had a couple of kids, and there was some problems with babysitters and things like that, so she couldn't go. So my wife literally dragged me to the Fenway show, and she was like, "You're not going to ruin this for me by making fun of this, are you?" I said, "No, no, no, I'm not going to do that." And we got down there, and I'm standing there, and the concert's going on, and I can see this other guy next to me. He got dragged there too because he's just kind of like trying to bop a little, like he knows the songs, but he clearly doesn't. And I'm sitting there, and this kid comes out on the stage and is playing the piano. I'm like, "Who's that?" And like five women that were standing around me like, "That's Griffin." And I'm like, "Okay, who's Griffin?" I'm like, "That's Joey's son." And I'm like, "Okay, I didn't know he had a son. Sorry." But so I didn't know any of the songs. I mean, I had heard of them, and to say, like, if they came on the radio and Step by Step was playing, I knew who that was. I knew that was New Kids on the Block. But about it. And but my wife, she talks about them constantly. During COVID, I had my sister make up some cookies, and we had a New Kids on the Block birthday party for my wife back in like 2020, I think it was. And I wish I had thought to look up the cookie picture, but I'm going to try and get her to make me some more cookies to bring to the cruise. So if you're there, maybe I'll give you a cookie.
Oh my God, I love cookies.
Yeah, really good cookies. So, but
Okay.
anyway, so when the concert, we were at Fenway, and this was in August of 2021. And when the concert was over, I was like, wow, that was a really good show. And I said, I'd go see that again. That was really good. And she's like, "You liked it?" And I said, "Yeah, I really enjoyed that." And she goes, "So you're a blockhead now?" And I said, "No." I said, "No, not even close." I said, "I don't know any of their music. I don't know anything about these guys. I just know that you like them, and I know they put on one hell of a good concert." So, August to I guess their tour start. The first show we went to on the 2022 tour last year was in Anaheim. So we had gone home, and when they announced that tour, I said, "Let's go to California," because my wife has a twin sister who's also a big blockhead. I said, "Well, concert with them, and we can go to Disneyland at the same time." And so we flew out there, and that was just the first one. We had scheduled one in Connecticut and the two in Boston, and we did a meet and greet at the one in Connecticut. Well, at the one at Fenway in 2021 in August, there was a girl who was handing out these she called them flat New Kids.
Yeah.
And you know what they are?
Mm-hmm.
Gave one to me, and I got one for her to get to my wife, from her to get to my wife. And we just started taking pictures. In fact, when she started posting them and she made this little book, we showed up in that book like 3 or 4 times. And it's because we were sending so many pictures of taking pictures with it in. We were just having fun with it. So when it came to go to Anaheim, and mind you, in the meantime, I've been listening to their songs in the car like crazy, trying to learn the words so that when I'm at the concert, I'm not doing the same thing, just standing there watching the show. I can sing and sing along and all. And but I told my wife, I said, "But I want to give something away." So I bought a whole bunch of vintage New Kids pins, the little small ones. And at the time, I only had a little backpack because I'm type 2 diabetic, so I have to carry a blood monitoring kit with me. And so I put them all over the straps of the backpack. And someone mentioned it. And I said, "Well, you can have one." And said, "No, no, we don't want to take your pins." And I said, "No, you can have one." So, in the meantime, I've really come to enjoy the music. I was like, I don't know why these guys get so much grief from a lot of people because their music is actually really good. It puts you in a good mood. It's very sing-alongable. And, so I was really enjoying it. So, and I mean, I was listening to it a lot. And so I gave away the pins that were on the backpack, and I had 50 of them with me. And I probably had about 20 when we left. But on our way out the door, she was like, "What'd you think?" And I said, "Again, they put on a great show." And she goes, "So you're a Blockhead now?" And I said, "No." I said, "I'm a fan." I said, "I'm a fan. I'm not a Blockhead." I said, "A Blockhead is someone who just gets all excited about them." And I've since learned that guy Blockheads are a little different. We're not like the 14-year-old girl mentality. We have that sort of, these guys are awesome. They've managed to survive, keep themselves relevant all this time, and they're just having a good time with it. I mean, they act like a bunch of guys who are still in high school. They seem like they play with each other a lot, and play like guys. And so, I kind of had a respect for that, and I was like, gosh, that's the kind of friendship I wish I had.
Yeah.
And so, after the concert, we're walking out, and we had come in where the tour buses were parked, so I knew where the tour buses were parked. And we went back downstairs, and we're standing there, and there's a whole crowd, but we got up by the front barricade. And I said, my wife will love this. They'll come out. She gets to see them kind of up close. And Donnie Wahlberg comes out first, and he's all excited. He is. He's like constantly on Red Bull. And he's just running around doing the little side fives as he's running, and he's hitting everybody. And he comes by, and I got my hand out there. My wife has her hand out there. He comes by, and he slaps my hand. He slaps my wife's hand. He slaps the girl's next to her hand. Then he comes to a dead stop, and he backpedals. And he looks straight at me, and he sticks his fist out, and he fist bumps me. And I went, "Oh, shit." And at that point, I knew, okay, I'm a Blockhead. Because I was all excited when he did that. And my wife was just like, "Oh, my God, Wahlberg acknowledged you." And I was like, well, I said, "You know what it is after he went by, it instantly registered. He went, holy shit, that's a guy." And so he started to come back and, say, "Oh my God, there's a guy in the fan. There's a guy fan out here." And so ever then I, consider myself a Blockhead. I mean, I felt that same sort of excitement when he came back and, fist bumped me and acknowledged me. And
I love that. I love that. It's
yeah,
amazing. It's amazing. It's amazing because like I know that the when it comes to the guy Blockheads, right? There's a few of them, but they're gonna get well known within the community because there's only a few of them. And Donnie has this thing where he always hooks up the guys. So like, if he sees the guys, he will always show them love because he understands that none of you are there for them, at least not in the beginning. And everyone that I've spoken to on this show has eventually become a block bro because they just love the guys. It's just what
right. So we were going to do a meet and greet in Connecticut a month later. And so we drove down there. And in the meantime, I said, this backpack, nobody noticed the pins. And I wanted to give them away because I had bought like, 5 or 6 of these things, right? And because I found a guy who had a bunch of boxes of them from the old days. And he was pretty much giving them away. It was like 45, 50 bucks a box. And there's, I think, 200 or something like that in each box. So I went home and I bought a jean jacket. And that's where I was wearing it at the concert in Connecticut. And I covered it in the pins and said, people will notice this and I can just hand them out. I'll give them to the little kids that it's their first concert. If someone comes up to me and mentions it, I'll give it to them. And so we got to the Mohegan Sun and we're standing in line for the meet and greet before the concert. And I just tell my wife, I'm going to go walk up here and see how much further up we have to go. And we didn't have a photo group. Someone just stopped us and said, "Hey, you want to be in our group?" And I said, "Yeah." And so they, of course, immediately asked me, "What's with the jacket?" And I said, "Well, I'm a guy Blockhead and I wanted to give away something. So I bought a bunch of pins and put them all with this jacket." And she said, "Really? That's really cool." I said, "Yeah, you get to have one. Pick one you want and my wife will take it off or you can take it off and you can have the pin."
Yeah.
And so they all took a pin and then I told my wife, "I'm going to go up and see how long this line is." And I walked up there and girls just kept commenting on it. "Love your jacket. Love your jacket. Can I get a picture with you? I love that jacket. Why do you have all those pins?" And I'm just like, you can have a pin. Really? And of course, half these women have been drinking a little bit so far, since before the concert, they've all had a beer or two. And so they're getting all excited. And I posted a thing on Instagram after the concert where I had taken pictures with a bunch of them, and I just kind of made a reel on Instagram showing all of them. So I was handing out these pins. And the girl goes, "What's your Instagram?" I said, "I don't even have an Instagram." I said, "I don't know what that is." And she goes, "You don't have Instagram?" And I looked at my phone, and sure enough, I did. I guess I signed up for it at some point and didn't even remember signing up for it. And it was just my, regular name one. So she started to follow me. And I was like, okay, whatever, right? Well, then a couple other people asked me. So what I did is after that concert, I went home and I set up a completely different one for Mr. Blockhead. But I couldn't think of what to call myself. But my wife and I had been talking, and I was like, I don't like Blockhead Dude or Dude Blockhead, Blockhead Brother. That doesn't sound right to me. And so, but she kept going, yeah, but you're a Blockhead. You're a Blockhead. You're a Blockhead. And I said, that's Mr. Blockhead to you. And it stuck. And I was like, oh my God, that's it. And it just stuck. So ever since then, I've gone by Mr. Blockhead. Well, when I went on Twitter and Instagram to try to set it up, somebody had already taken that name. So I was like, well, what can I call myself? I want that. That's perfect. So I was thinking about the song, Bring Back the Time, and they want to go back to 89. So I called it Mr. Blockhead 89. And then people just started following me. I've got like 600 followers. I mean, it's like nothing compared to people like you and the other people who do podcasts or Rat Tail has, but it's just these people these fans who have just kind of gotten a hold of me somehow and started following me. Go into the meet and greet, and I come walking in, and I'm thinking this is going to be a disaster because I come walking up, and you've been to one, I'm sure, and you know how they line you up in order. Well, I was with John, and in fact, I tend to pick John just because I have a lot of respect for John, and the issues he's had in the past with a little bit of anxiety when he goes out on stage and things like that. And I really respect that he's been able to kind of put that aside and still put. So I like to get my picture with John. And so we come up and we're waiting to go in, and Danny looks right at me, sees the jacket, and he goes, "Oh God, what's this?" Right? And I'm like, "Oh man, this guy's gonna hate me. He thinks I'm some weirdo, right?" So we come walking in, and I just start talking, and he's like, "So what's with the jacket?" And I'm like, I put it on here because I'm handing pins out to people. I let anybody that mentions that I give them a free pin. He's like, "Oh, okay, that's cool." So I go past him, and then I'm with Donnie, and I'm talking to Donnie for a minute. And again, what's with the jacket? And because I can show you a picture of it. There's a picture of me with him because Donnie pulled me forward at the meet and greet with the jacket on and took coffee with me. Of course, my wife is just out of sight, back behind me, and her jaw is just on the ground. Like, oh my God, I can't believe he just got a selfie with Donnie Wahlberg. And I can see it in her face. She's just like, right. And so I'm kind of laughing. I get down, you do the hug thing. I get down to John, and I'm talking to John, and we get the picture and we move on. And she's like, "I can't believe that just happened to you. I've been a Blockhead since the beginning. You've been a Blockhead since like June, and it's only been a month, and you've already got a with Donnie Wahlberg." And I'm just like, "Hey, you gotta be a guy, I guess." And so, it kept going, and we got to the Boston concert, 2 weeks later, and this girl comes running up to me. She goes, "You were in Connecticut." And I was like, "I was. Did I give you a pin?" I'm thinking that's why she was recognizing me. She goes, "No, I can have a pin." And I said, "Of course." So she takes a pin and takes a picture and moves on. And at every concert, I put 200 pins on the jacket, and I usually come home with about 30 to 40. And I'm really trying to give them away. A lot of people ask me, how much are they? Do you want some money for one? I'm like, no, they're completely free. You can have them. And so it just become a lot of fun for me.
Yeah.
And so I started reading that book about 5 brothers and a million sisters. I've only gotten about halfway through it. My wife is insisting on reading it first, And somewhere along the way, someone started referring to her as Mrs. Blockhead. So a lot of times when I reference my wife in a post, I refer to her as Mrs. Blockhead. Mm-hmm. And so we got past the cruises. I mean the concerts, because we had gone to 4 of them, and I had given away all these pins, and a lot of people knew who I was. And it was the day after the last one in Boston. They had 2 shows in Boston. Mm-hmm. I started thinking about the cruise, because we had already paid for the cruise. Like, my dream is to go on the cruise. So we went ahead and signed up for the cruise in the meantime. Okay. And I'm thinking, I've got to come up with something to give away on this cruise. And I was like, I can't wear that jean jacket in the Bahamas. It's so darn hot there that I'll roast. Mm. Thinking about it, and I was like, well, maybe I can make like travel soaps or something and stamp NKOTB into them. And I started watching videos on how to make it, and they're like, lye can give you a rash. And I'm like, okay, I don't want to do that. I'm not going to have a bunch of girls tossing me overboard in the middle of the ocean, right? Because they all have a rash and they have to take pictures with, the new kids on the block in like 2 days, and it's going to be fun. So I started making bracelets. And the funny thing is I had gone on Facebook, and this girl goes, oh yeah, I was at the concert last night. There was this guy and his wife, and they were really nice, and they're handing out pins. And I was like, hey, she goes, I wish I could get a hold of him and thank him one more time. And I said, hey, that was me. And she's like, oh my God, that was you. Thank you so much, because you're famous. I said, what? And she goes, everybody's talking about you. I said, what are you talking about? She goes, hold on, I'm going to tag you in. She brings me into this conversation, and sure enough, there's like 70 posts of people talking about me. I saw that guy too. Yeah, him and his wife were so nice. He gave me a pin. And someone else was like, what? Someone was giving out pins? So I'm just like, oh my God, I wasn't expecting this. I was like, what is going on here? So a few days later, I go down to Hobby Lobby, and I'm thinking, what can I make? So I kind of landed on bracelets, and beads and stuff. And in fact, I'm currently making the beads for this year's, or the bracelets for this year's cruise. Mm-hmm. But I'm standing there on the aisle, not knowing how to make a bracelet. And there's a girl standing there, and I'm talking to her. I'm like, how do you make bracelets? And she goes, you're gonna make some bracelets? And I said, I got to make 500 of them. And she's like, for what? I said, well, I'm going on the New Kids on the Block cruise, and I want to hand them out. And she goes, you like New Kids on the Block? I said, oh yeah. And she goes, my best friend would love you. And I said, why is that? And she goes, oh, she's a huge New Kids on the Block fan. She went to both shows over the weekend in Boston. I said, oh, so did we? I said, I wonder if I gave her a pin. And she goes, I don't know. I'll text her and ask her. So she texts her, right? And a couple seconds later, she texts back, and her answer was, no, but I know who he is. And I'm just like, wait, what? I mean, it's like only been a couple of nights of this, and people are knowing who I am. And I'm just kind of like, all right, whatever. So, I started making all these bracelets and handing them out on the cruise and taking pictures with it. And in the meantime, I had also started making like my own merchandise. You've seen that luggage tag I showed you. That started T-shirt. And so I was wearing that. In fact, I'm wearing that T-shirt in the picture with Donnie Wahlberg, because I had seen that a bunch of people at the first concert, everybody had made their own shirts for the concert. So I was like, okay, I can get into that, right? So I started doing that. And then we got on the cruise, and this guy, we're walking across the Lido deck by the buffet, and another guy stands up and goes, oh my God, he goes, you're Mr. Blockhead. I follow you. And I'm like, wait, what? And he goes, you're famous. I said, not really, but okay, thank you. And he's like, oh my God, he goes, I got to get a picture with you. So he gets selfies, and that same picture, I had a couple of beach towels made up. And I started talking. We sat there and talked to him for about a half an hour. And he was a real big fan. In fact, he couldn't get on the ship this year. He's still on the wait list. And so I gave him a beach towel. He's the only person out there that has a beach towel that looks like that luggage tag, other than me. I have one upstairs. He has the only other one. Mm-hmm. And it happened again on the ship. We were on the little boat that takes you over the island, and this girl comes across and she's screaming across the top deck, "Are you Mr. Blockhead? Are you Mr. Blockhead?" I said, "Yeah." And she's like, "Oh my God, I knew that was you. Hi, how are you?" And I'm just like, "I'm good. How are you?" And she's like, "That is so awesome that you're here." And then she went downstairs and well, if I saw her, I saw her.
So how
And
does
that's
that feel that you have like all these people recognizing you and it's such a short period of time? It's like you blew up overnight and now you have fans of your own.
right. And it's like, at first it was a little strange. But at the same time, I was like, this is actually kind of cool. It kind of brings everybody together within this fandom. You know, it's like you start meeting people from all over the place. And, you know, it's kind of like you have instant friends. So it really felt kind of cool. So, you know, when people walk up to me and, you know, recognize me or something, it doesn't happen very often, more in concerts or on the cruise and things like that. I mean, I've never had anybody recognize me in the wild, but, which is what I refer to, like when I tell my wife, you know, we're gonna, you know, she wants to meet one of the new kids for a selfie in the wild, and you know, not at like a meet and greet where you know you're guaranteed to get a picture.
Yeah.
And she was really upset about that because on the cruise, I ran into John and Harley like within an hour. They were up on the deck and I was up there. I don't like being jammed into that cluster of people that are down there swarming the stage. Well, my wife and I had been down there and I said, I need to get out of this crowd for a few minutes. So I got out and I started walking around. Well, here comes John and Harley, and they were standing there, and I'm a huge Amazing Race fan. And so I stopped and started talking to them about Amazing Race. And I got a picture with them. And she was just like, "Are you kidding me?" And the whole cruise went on. And finally, on the last night at like 11:30, we're coming back towards the pool area because we were up at Rat Tail's room and we were hanging out with them with Chris. And he was like, "We got to find a way to get you a selfie, Erica." Well, sure enough, as soon as we walked back out there, here comes Danny. And I went, "Erica, come on, there's Danny." So I, you know, went down to him. I said, "Danny, can you take a picture with my wife?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure." So she comes running down there and gets in the picture. And now it's like her most prized possession. It's our screensaver. She shows it to everybody. You know, it's just like, you know, this is the biggest, this is the best thing that's ever happened to me. You know, it was like, what child, right? Meeting Danny was the best that ever happened, right?
That's awesome. Is that her favorite new kid?
No, her favorite is Jordan.
Ah,
And
Jordan, right here. Jordan.
right, she'll tell you that she doesn't really have a favorite. She's like, I could never pick. And I said, well, you know, you know, she's mentioned Jordan more than everybody, but she's like, no, I love Donnie too, and Joey and John and you know, Danny. But now that she got the selfie with Danny, he's like definitely securing this little special spot in her heart because she gets to look at the selfie with Danny every single day.
Nice,
And
nice. But what about for you? Who's your favorite?
I would say John. John
John?
is definitely, yeah, again, because he's, you know, he pushes through his you know, his anxiety to make it happen. And I think he does that because for one, it keeps the group together. You know, I mean, think about the time when they had taken a break. You know, John was definitely fighting some of those issues. And from what I understand by watching documentaries, you know, they tried to go alone without John for a little while, and it just wasn't working. I mean, the camaraderie and the mojo just wasn't there.
Yeah.
And so got back together. It seems like John has, you know, been able to overcome those sorts of, I guess you could call them demons that were kind of plaguing him, and he pushes through that. And you know, he understands. At least I feel he understands that, you know, this is a brotherhood for him. These guys are brothers more than they're friends, and you know, you die for your brothers.
Of course.
And
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 have you had any of his infamous hugs?
I've had a couple of them. Yes, they are nice and solid. That's for sure. Big bear hugs.
He
And
makes you feel special. Yeah, go ahead.
so so that's why, I mean, I respect the fact that he's able to, you know, put that anxiety behind him and get out there and pull it off. And you know,
That's
so I have a lot.
awesome. So then now on the cruise, for those that haven't been on it, right? There are theme nights. Were you able to participate in those theme nights and what did you wear?
Yes, in fact, I almost got thrown overboard because of that. Um, my wife almost chucked me right over the side. And the formal night, I dressed all up. I had a suit on and a sparkly bow tie. For 80s night, I mean, I would have to really go back in my pictures to find it, but it might not be that as far as I think it is. Let me take a second to see if I can find it because
Mhm.
I can have pictures of it all, and if you really have, I'm one of those people that I'd go big or go home, right?
Yeah,
I'm not.
me too.
In fact, if the theme nights are the same this year, I've got a couple ideas. I'm just waiting to find out what themes are. I'm hoping they're the same just because I want those themes.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, no,
but
they're different. They're different every year. The one that doesn't ever change is GPS.
here's a picture of me with some of the people that I met when I was handing out the bracelets.
Mhm.
But on the cruise, and then here's me with John, an hour after the ship sailed.
Nice. That's a nice one.
And but so oh, I might actually have a picture of us. Oh, I don't have a picture of us all formal. I have a picture of my wife all informal. Here's Mrs. Blockhead.
Oh, pretty. Oh, that's a nice dress.
So yeah, she liked that, and we got to sit next to. Well, I mean, here's one. That first night, it was really windy up on deck, so there's one of us in the wind, and you can see I'm wearing the bow tie, and I have a black jacket. I've since changed the jacket into like a blue tuxedo jacket. So if they have a formal night, I'll be wearing that this year.
Okay.
But I'm trying to find. I know they're here. I just got to get. Okay, here it is. Here's what we dressed as for 80s night. We were John Bender and Claire Standish from the Breakfast Club.
Oh, nice.
I mean,
I love the wig. I love the wig.
I look more like Keanu Reeves in that wig, but
Yeah, I was just gonna say that. Yeah.
it was the only thing I could find that even remotely resembled John Bender's hair.
Mhm.
And someone even mentioned that I even remembered the handkerchief tied around one of his ankles on the boots, and so that was a lot of fun. And we got to hang out with a blockhead that didn't get to go on the cruise. I don't know. Were you on the cruise last year?
Yes.
You know who Nunda is?
Woohoo.
Flat Nunda. There was a girl who couldn't come on the cruise, and we had dinner with her friends. So she made a whole bunch of flat Nundas to take
Uh,
pictures around. We took her snorkeling. We took her to the island,
got it.
everywhere.
Got it. Got it. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, yeah. There are a couple of blockheads that do stuff like that for their friends when they can't make it. I think it's such a cool idea.
So then here we are on the Halloween night, and this is why I almost got thrown overboard
Ah,
because I didn't want to go up to the Lido deck early because that I forgot the screwdriver and spare batteries for that costume. And oddly enough, I've tried to find people who have video of that costume, and nobody
Stay
does.
Puff. Yeah. Oh
I
my
mean,
goodness.
6 seconds of video of me in that thing, and I was dancing all over, but I couldn't see a thing. And but apparently, we had been told that they had been looking for Ghostbusters earlier in the night to come up on the stage. And when my wife found out, and I kept going, no, I don't want to go up there yet. I'm not ready. If the batteries die, that thing's going to deflate, and I don't have another costume. So I want to just kind of get up there a little bit late so that it lasts the whole night. And then when she found out about they were looking for a Ghostbuster, and she was a Ghostbuster, and she could have possibly gone up on the stage. It was just like I was a dead man walking. And well, you know, let's have a selfie with Danny because that kind of gave me some reprieve. And
Boy, I would have dragged you like we doing this. We gonna figure it out.
here we're going to all the parties. We're going to be like the first people there. She's already going. I'm not waiting until late to go up there this time. And I'm like, all right. So hopefully they'll have another Halloween night. If they do, I have a couple really good costumes I'm planning on attempting to make.
Mhm.
That want to do. So I'm really, really hoping they have a Halloween night. I've also got one for if they do actually have the Western night. I do have a plan for that.
Yeah,
And
I think that's rumored that that might happen. And then what'd you do for GPS?
we just wore shirts that said New Hampshire on them because we were trying to get a bunch of fake colored leaves, and we were gonna just pin them all over our clothes because leaf peeping is a big thing up in New Hampshire when the colors change in the fall. But I guess it's really popular to decorate your house with artificial leaves that are in those colors because nobody had any when I started trying to think of a way to, a shirt to make.
Right.
And went and got, last minute got some New Hampshire shirts. We did make shirts for the Beach Olympics that were really cool. I might actually have a picture of them because they announced that real late, like right before we got on the ship, like a week earlier. They had mentioned the Beach Olympics,
Yeah.
and so I was like frantically trying to figure out a shirt. I don't know if you can really see it too clearly in this one.
The green.
But I made the Olympic rings and I put it on an island and I put NKOTB in each ring and I changed the color of the rings to their microphone colors. And yeah, that guy we're with, that's the guy who owns Rose Tours. That's
nice. Okay.
Billy from Philly. And
Billy from
yeah, that first night during the game show, we sat next to him in the theater, and we were talking to him the whole time. He was actually a really nice guy.
That's awesome. So then now that you've had a little time, meeting the new kids, you have time in the fandom, you've met a lot of blockheads and stuff like that. Would you have ever thought that this would be something you would enjoy that first time that you went?
Oh, that first concert we went to, and she was dragging me to it. I was like, I'm gonna lose my man card for this. People are gonna be gay. People are gonna think, what kind of weirdo are you going to a New Kids concert? And I get there and I'm like, this is a lot of fun, and it's a very positive experience. There's definitely some negatives. I mean, like there's a lot of girls I've noticed who, like, we were at a concert and this girl came up and just kind of shoved herself into our row because we were next to one of the blocks that they stand on down on the floor, and she's down there just trying to push everyone out of the way to get selfies. And then when they walked off, she basically followed after them. And I mean, there were some people that were really, they get a little pushy when it comes time to get pictures with them, and it's like, come on, these guys don't have to do this. If you're really trying to look for a way to get them to quit doing this, just keep doing stuff like that because that's going to eventually burn them out.
Yeah.
But for the most part, the positiveness of it is awesome. I mean, I start my day off almost every day with New Kids on the Block playlist.
What's your favorite song?
I have a few. They're all up there. I would say my overall favorite is I Need a Melody. And it's not on anything. You can't get it. The only way I can ever hear that song is by watching the video on YouTube. It's not on any of the albums that I can find. It's not on Pandora. It's not on iHeartRadio. It's not on Spotify, any of that stuff. But I like the ones, I call them more of the guy songs. I like the ones like Grown Man and Dirty Dog and Dirty Dancing. I love Boys in the Band.
Yeah.
And in fact, I will say that I'm hopefully going to eventually make a shirt based off that song. And I do have an idea for a shirt that I want to make for that. And
can't wait to see that.
Yeah, that'll probably be a little bit further down the road. I am going to eventually, people have asked me to buy that Beantown Posse shirt. So I'm still trying to figure out how to do it. I've had a few copyright things that I've had to fix on it. So I'm in the process of figuring that out. And then once I do that, I'll just, say, hey, they're posted, the image is posted on Zazzle, do whatever you want, have fun with it. But, like there's you've seen it, the one with Donnie wearing the hat, I have NK Clover TB on it so that the O is taken out. And they said it was too similar and that it would pose a copyright infringement. So I have to take it off if I want to print new So it's little like that. But by the end of this weekend, I'll have that figured out. And if I do, I'll get it ready to post so people can sell it. And, if you want to buy anything, I'll let you know. It helps feed the habit. And
Definitely. And
I
so,
mean,
yeah,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
No, go ahead.
Okay, and so now that you've had some more time and you've met other Black bros, right? And you've hung out with them as
Oh,
well?
I have
One?
met one.
Just one? Okay, okay. There's a lot of them. There's a lot of them. So hopefully you'll get to meet them on this cruise. I know that Brandon is one of them. He's like really famous, big guy. He's always like singing and stuff. He's really cool. And I'm bringing one with me. He's new, so eventually people will get to know him. And it's so funny that you had that Stay Puff costume because he's my MC when I DJ, and that's his name is MC Stay Puff. So it's gonna be amazing. You'll see when you come to the party. So I'm gonna say what I say on every show. I'm not affiliated with New Kids Wahlburgers or anything like that. However, if they were to see this, what is your message to the guys?
You guys are awesome, and more guy merchandise because a lot of it's still geared towards the women. I would love to see some guy stuff that more masculine maybe, and not just concert T-shirts because I would really like to be able to buy some stuff for myself. I do collect a lot of stuff for my wife. She's got a lot. And, when she was a kid, she went to school one day and she had sheets and a sweatshirt and magazine, and her bedroom went up in flames. She's a twin, and there's still a debate over which one of them left the curling iron plugged in. And but either way, their room went up in flames. Luckily, the rest of the house did not. So I've spent the last few years kind of building up a collection for her.
Oh,
And
that is so sweet.
keep doing the thing you're doing. You're winning the guys over slowly. When I was at the Boston concert, there was a guy who had gotten dragged there that I was talking to after the concert while his wife was using the restroom. And he was like, I said, "Are you a fan?" And he's like, "No." He goes, "I got dragged to this." And I said, "Well, what'd you think?" And he goes, "That was a really good show. I'd come to that again." So I think a lot of guys don't give them a chance. And it's like, you need to just give them a chance because these guys, they could have double the fan base if they could just get the guys to come along with their wives. You always hear about these women going, my husband's like, "Yeah, no, I'm not going to that," or "I'm not going on that cruise." And I'm like, you know what? I'm the first one planning it. My wife isn't even the first one saying we should do this anymore. I'm like, we got to be ready for when they announce things. So
That is so awesome. I love these stories, especially coming from the guys. And if I know that there's a guy there, I want to get to know them. I want their story because this is really cool. Because it's kind of like when we were younger, a lot of us got teased and stuff for liking New Kids on the Block, and then the guys made fun of us and stuff. But a lot of them were secret blockheads even back then, or they tell stories about, oh no, because they weren't tough. I'm listening to this, I'm listening to that. You just got these little guys, and then they go to an event, they get to meet them. Donnie acts cool, and their whole world gets turned around, and now they're like, damn, I missed out. Like,
and it's a lot of fun. I mean, they put on such a good show, and I mean, I told my wife when we retire, if they're still touring, we're just going to get an RV and just follow them around the country and just go to the shows because it's just they're that much fun. We sat next to a girl at the Mohegan Sun concert, and she was at her 12th show, her and her friend, and they were like, "We still got 4 or 5 more to go." And we've run into her at both Boston shows. We ran into her on the cruise. We're in her photo group this year on the cruise. She actually contacted me before they even released the dates for the cruise and was like, "Are you guys going on the cruise?" And we're like, "Yeah." And she's like, "Great, you want to be in our photo group?" And we're like, "Sure." So she's become like a friend of ours. And so it's kind of cool that we have a friend. And if I ever go to where she lives, I feel like I can knock on the door and say, "Hey, you got a couch I can crash on."
yeah.
But
That's actually true for a lot of blockheads that I have interviewed and that we had talked, it because the fandom is not just a fandom, it really does become like a family. And then you meet people that you would have never have met otherwise because of the guys and from all over the world. So now you can go to like Australia, you can go to England, and you'll know someone there, and that's amazing. And I love that they presented this little guy here, which, by the
Yeah,
way, I had to change his name because I did forget that he was Mr. Blockhead. So now it's just, Adventures of Little Blockhead and Cyberdoll. But I love this guy. I want to know who's there. Huh?
again, I ordered one of those and it hasn't shown up yet.
No, you gotta get it in person. I mean, I bought it at BlockCon, so
I
and now
ordered
he
one.
goes with me everywhere.
I ordered one off their site and he hasn't shown up yet. So hopefully he'll get here soon. That was probably about a month ago.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing your story and being on my show. I hope to get you and your wife on the next one. That way I can get her story as well. I can't wait to see you on the cruise. It's going to be amazing. And this was a lot of fun.
But yeah, we'll see you at Hard Rock. She'll tell you that she made me.
You know what? And I will say, you sure did. You sure. Well, thank you. Stay safe, stay humble, and as always, stay what? Lift your arms up, lift them up, lift them up. Fabulous. Mwah. Bye, guys. I'll see you guys soon.